Good morning and good afternoon. Jeff with Astroscoop, Deep Dive Astrology Coaching. It is 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and depending on where you are, it's good morning or good afternoon. You know, I was thinking I have viewers from the UK and Canada, and Europe would be about 5 hours ahead, so it'd be dinner time. And for some parts of Canada, it's only an hour ahead, so it would be 1. But of course, here on the East Coast, we have 3 time zones that are behind us. That would be 11, 10, and then 9 a.m. would be the West Coast, like California. So it is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, and I'm changing around my live stream times to try to access more time zones and try to get some other viewers in here. So we're going to keep trying that, different days, different times, just to see what works. So how's everyone doing? We'll wait a few minutes to see if anyone's here. I see Carolyn's here. Happy Sunday. Yes. And last week was a tech glitch issue. It only recorded half of my live stream. So I guess I was talking at the end there and nothing was recorded. So hopefully, let's hope that YouTube cooperates today as we begin August and get into more of the late part of the midsummer. And today will be all, excuse me, today will be all about Leo, just Leo. And today's live stream will be slightly different than usual because I'm going to focus on Leo, pure Leo energy, like we talked about last year, but I'm going to focus on compatibility for Leo. And I know I do a little bit of that every now and then, but I want to start concentrating more on compatibility because it's a very important and very desired thing for students of astrology and people that are seeking, wondering about going into relationships with certain people or business partnerships, or even, you know, long-term friendships, that sort of thing, activity partner. And it's really good to know. It's really good to know the differences. Now, one thing I'm learning as I get older, okay, about 3 minutes in, we'll wait a few minutes. One thing I'm learning as I get older is the amount of differences between you and any other person in any capacity, whether it's at work, an intimate spouse or partner, a child, your friend, someone you work with in the community, sort of thing. It's quite apparent how strikingly different we all are, which is a great thing because we all bring different strengths and weaknesses to the table, no matter what table we're sitting at. And I think a lot of us get caught up in this. Well, we have to be, you know, we have to have 100% compatibility with whoever we're around, whether it's our spouse or our kids or our friends, people we work with, and it's just not realistic. So one thing I'm realizing is people have gifts, people have flaws, and the more you can tolerate's a big word, and tolerate is like a big key word lesson for fire signs, which we're talking about fire sign today. So I'm very much on a fire sign kick right now, which is Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And it's a huge lesson for people that have major fire in their astrological charts to learn to tolerate. Be tolerant. And that is a huge lesson. So fire sign people, or people that have the moon in fire, Venus in fire, fire rising. Fire has a lot of wonderful qualities, like we're going to talk about with Leo. But one of the biggest lessons for fire energy is tolerance. And I have a good deal of fire in my chart, and I know quite a few people that do as well. And it is a lifelong lesson to be able to tolerate not only energies that are different than the fire energy, not only that, not just the differences, but to tolerate the fact that people have their own motivations and reasons for what they express and what they don't express. And very often in astrology, with the fire signs can very much expect a lot from people, and they can expect it quickly, and they can expect people to operate like they do sometimes, or agree with them, or move at a certain pace. And what's interesting is, obviously, the 3 fire signs operate that differently, but that is definitely a thread for all fire sign planets. And part of the reason why I'm bringing up the fire sign group, the 3 signs, is because when we look at the transits today, in a little bit, we'll look at transits, we'll talk about celebrities, but most importantly, we're going to talk a lot about compatibility. Not so much the mythology and symbolism of Leo, but more so the compatibility and how it relates to people on an everyday basis. And I'm going to break it down really, hopefully very simply, easy to digest, but hopefully not overly superficial about judging one sign being all bad or all good, or especially for Leo. There's a lot of nuance. And so tolerate. So that's a huge lesson for Leo, is to tolerate people that are less like them, less Leonine sort of thing. Now, when we get into talking about Leo, this is going to be Leo 1, which is July 26th to August 2nd or 3rd. So today's the 3rd. So today's pretty much the cutoff for pure Leo energy. And then this week we'll be going into Leo 2, which I'll talk about next week. But we're going to talk about pure, raw Leo energy. I see someone else popped in. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. It's a little after 12 Eastern time. And so tolerance is huge for the fire signs. And in the cosmic sky today, we actually have a lot of fire going on. So it's an interesting time to have a lot of fire represented, and then having 2 major planets in Leo for this month. So it's a very strong month fire-wise, astrologically, specifically with the fire energy in Leo for August and for the heat, the heat of summer. Obviously, it's daytime. I'm looking over here to the west. It's nice and bright. The sunsets now are much quicker. So around 8:10 or 8:15, it starts getting dark, and then it's dark much quicker. So obviously, that's a little hint towards fall, because in a month is September, and it doesn't seem like fall's anywhere near, but it's amazing how fast summer goes, especially when it hits August and you look at the calendar. But we have 31 days in August, so it's a long month. And then we go up until the 21st, and then on August 22nd, the sun will enter Virgo. So between now and the 21st, we have a good solid 18 days of Leo energy. So happy birthday to all Leo people around the world that are celebrating birthdays either last week or this week. Coming up until the 21st is Leo time. And of course, this week that we're going to talk about, Leo 1, is all pure, raw sun energy, because Leo's ruled by the sun. And then very much like Cancer, Cancer's ruled by the moon, and we concentrate on looking at the moon in the chart. With Leo, I'm not as concerned with looking at the Leo person's moon, although that's important. But I want to look at the sun and what the sun in Leo is doing in their chart, the aspects, and where it's housed, where it's placed. Now, for a sun in Leo person, it's like probably the most important, the house placement is going to be the most important for a Leo more than any of the other 11 signs, because Leo Leo's prominence and Leo's strength comes from the sun, and Leo's heat comes from the sun. So I'm going to try not to repeat myself, because these Leo words, everybody uses the same Leo words like showy and all these things. But so Leo's one of those signs that has, you know, huge potential to be really, really good, or misfire, or potentially be bad. And Leo energy is grand. So however Leos use it, their evolvement, their maturity, and their security themselves, feeling secure or insecure, is very important of how Leos use that sun energy. But make no doubt that Leo energy is some of the most expansive and strongest energy in the zodiac, because of, not only because it's ruled by the lion and love, not only because it's ruled by the lion and lioness, but because it's the sun. And that is just amazing. So over the decades, you know, from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, there was that sun sign astrology, like, hey, babe, what's your sign? And of course, we're talking about sun sign astrology here, but we go deeper than that and talk a lot the moon, the planets, the rising, and everything. But for decades, there was a lot of sun sign astrology, superficial, not looking at the rest of the chart, and just concentrating on the sun sign, and then not even looking at the decans or decanates either. Just saying all Leos are like this, all Aquarians are like this, all Pisces are like this. And that does a disservice to the signs, and that's why you would find people over the years saying, hey, I don't really feel like a Leo. Oh, you're on the Leo Virgo cusp, you're almost a Virgo. That's probably why. Or I don't feel like a Pisces, and you're on the Aquarius cusp. So there's a lot of reasons there. But Leo energy is grand. So every part of a Leo planet in any chart, and we all have Leo in our chart on our wheel somewhere, is going to be where we're going to want to express our greatness. And so any Leo planet has the potential to express a lot of greatness, no matter how introverted or shy the Leo person or planet might be. And I have met a good deal of people with major Leo in their chart that aren't necessarily loud or showy, bombastic. That's probably one of my favorite thesaurus words for Leo is bombastic. I had a coworker once about 20 years ago, and we were doing a project together, and I asked her, she was really, really full of energy. And I said, what sign are you? And she said, oh, I'm a Leo. And I said, yeah, I would have guessed that. And she said, yeah, I'm very much a true Leo. And her birthday was this week, first week in August. And she said, yeah, I'm loud. And I said, would you consider yourself bombastic? And she laughed. She said, yeah, that fits me. And this particular woman I worked with, a lot of people didn't care for her approach, you know, her work style. She was very much a force, but she was a very positive force and a very, very, very good worker. So, you know, again, Leos can express a lot of greatness, and they want to. They feel Leos really, really can really feel dejected or depressed when they're not able to express greatness in their life towards their family and friends or at work. Leo planets need really, really, more so than any other sign, more than Aries, more than Sagittarius, need an outlet to express that sun energy. And you could say, yes, that is a need for attention, or neediness, attention-seeking behavior. Leo planets can have that. Although I've noticed people that I've known or coached with Leo planets, it's not always like that for them. It may be one particular person or a small group, like a family, that they really want to be in the center of, and they want that attention from. It's not necessarily everyone, sort of thing. So it's August 3rd, 2025. We're in the thick of Leo. Today we're at 11 degrees of Leo, so we're almost in the exact middle of the Leo period. And Leo, July 26th to August 2nd or 3rd, which is today, is Leo sun. Sun times 2. So it's ruled by the sun, and then anytime you look at a Leo planet, if it's the moon, Venus, Mars, it's always ruled by the whatever the sun is in. So if someone has a stellium in Leo, but let's say they're in Aquarius, Aquarius is the opposite sign, they would express a lot of Leo energy, but it's all ruled by their sun in Aquarius. So that Leo energy would be modified by the Aquarius. Just like if a sun in Leo person had a stellium in Aquarius, you would look at Uranus, and whatever planet that is would modify the Aquarius with the Leo. So there's a lot of little touches there you can do in an astrological chart to see how someone is operating that Leo energy and whether they express it or not. If the Leo planets are in a water house, particularly the 4th, the 8th, or the 12th, those would be the houses that it would be a little more hidden, a little more softened, and more muted. But it doesn't mean that Leo energy isn't as strong and powerful as they want it to be. It is naturally there, and it is naturally there geared to show something and to express something. If a Leo person has the sun in the 1st house, wow. So that's a Leo person. They don't have Leo rising, but their sun in Leo is in the 1st house. They are going to be a force to be reckoned with and will be an incredibly vigorous self-starter, have a lot of initiative, and love to be the leader or the boss of any situation in the 1st house, and will have a lot of personality to express. So no matter what the rest of the chart shows as far as shyness, that sun in Leo in the 1st house you can't hold it back, basically. That person would not hold back in terms of expressing some of their greater Leo qualities and possibly some of the more negative qualities, possibly being too dominant or too bossy or just coming on too strong with certain people. So the sun in Leo, so the Leo 1 person, really, really important to find out what house in the chart that is, because that's the bingo. Where is that person using the chart? And I happen to know a couple Leo people, one in particular that I'm thinking of, and he's quite introverted. And of course, I don't know his rising. I do know his planets, but I don't know his rising sign. I don't know his midheaven, and then of course I don't know the wheel, so I don't know what house his Leo sun is in. But he is quite he's not loud, definitely more laid back and introverted for a Leo. However, he's a later Leo. He's a Leo 3, which is quite different than the Leo 1 people that we're talking about today, which is pure sun energy, sun times 2. So think of Leo as the heat of the sun, right? Leo people shining that sun down on you. You can feel it. I know I've talked to women that have said that when they've been with Leo men, the sun is just out. And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, I can't explain it. When I'm around certain Leo men, it's just like the sun is out, the warmth. So that positive trait that a lot of Leo people can embody is just wonderful. It's just really wonderful. Now, Leo people, if you watch this or you have a lot of Leo in your chart, you're going to have to bear with me over the next couple of weeks, because the Leo energy has the potential for greatness, but it often misfires and can express, I mentioned this a little last week, can kind of do itself in and kind of self-sabotage, so to speak. When you think of sabotage, you think of a sign like Pisces, because Pisces is so sensitive and can go inside and kind of shut down. But Leos, for all their greatness and their ability to express, can also sabotage their own efforts in themselves with some of their lower qualities or more base qualities when they're not feeling secure or attended to. Attendance is very important for Leo. It's very important for Leo to attend to life, and it's important for all the Leo people around Leo to attend to them. And whether they directly ask for that or not depends on, their level of introversion. But it's interesting that it's always there. So the sun energy is ego. Most astrologers agree The sun does represent ego, whether that's you're just a lower base ego, and it also can represent your higher ego, your higher self. It's the life force. So that's why sun sign astrology has persisted, even though the moon and the ascendant are equally important. The sun sign is very strong. It is the life force of the chart. So for someone to have the sun in Leo, to be an early Leo, it is dignified. It is extremely well placed, along with Aries, but it is dignified. It is very, very comfortable sitting at the throne of the sun. That Leo energy is very, very comfortable. Now, where is Leo not comfortable? Mercury. Mercury is one position where a Mercury in Leo, which we'll talk about in a minute, is not well placed. And it doesn't mean it's not strong and enthusiastic and organized, has a lot of good qualities for Mercury, but in general, it will most likely display more of the negative traits or misfire for Mercury. But the sun in Leo, absolutely wonderful. And also Leo rising too. This applies to an early Leo rising person. That would be, again, more sun rulership. So even if you're not a Leo and you have Leo rising, I know people that are Leo rising and they're a different sun sign. When you meet them, they kind of look like a Leo or even act like a Leo. And they do have that need for recognition and attention somewhere. It's always there. I had a teenage friend who was a Pisces with Leo rising, and he had a certain flair for just the way he did things. Like even just when he was drinking a drink or something, he just had a flair. I can't explain it. But those of you with major Leo, or if you are married to or have dated people with major Leo, you'll know what I mean as far as flair. That is usually there. So ego, life force, and essence. Your sun sign is your essence. So it's the essence of a person with sun in Leo, the fire, the sun, the lion, the lioness, the cat, that feline energy that essence is very strong. And not all Leo energy is strength. You know, obviously we think of a lion or a lioness in the wild, the unbelievable female lioness, even more so, even more protective and kind of fierce in some ways, protect her cubs. But it's not even that. It's more just the essence of the sun, which is such a strong, hot energy, and having it be fixed fire. You know, Aries is cardinal, Sagittarius is mutable, so different. But the fixed energy and resolute energy of a fixed sign, but it being in fire in the sun. So the sun in Leo really, really plants itself as an individual. It plants itself very, very powerfully as an individual that says, I will do a lot, and I will express my will, or I will you to do things. So that's where Leos have to be careful because of the will and the ego. But again, like I said, not all Leo sun and Leo energy is strong. It can be bashful. It can be vulnerable. You know, felines have quite a vulnerable underbelly when they are in a non-defensive mode, you know, body language mode. Cats can be very vulnerable, and they're vulnerable to attention and to flattery. So if you rub in your cat's belly or your lion's belly, and he or she is like, you know, that's the cat feels comfortable, but the cat's also in a vulnerable position and kind of vulnerable to that attention or flattery. So the ego of Sun Leo people, the essence of it, that's a big lesson, is to be careful of not being addicted to flattery. Because if you flatter a Leo person or a person with major Leo, hopefully you're doing it in a sincere way. But if you're an insincere person and you're just trying to get something, Leo can fall for it. So that can be a big stumbling block for Leo planets. And it can be a tough time in life when Leo people almost like fall for the wrong story because the person is giving them, you know, psychologists use the phrase love bombing for people that are often narcissistic, where they love bomb you with all these compliments and gifts and stuff. And then all of a sudden, you know, because they're insecure and they have a bad attachment style, they just disappear. They give, you know, for a week or two, they're all over you. And then where the person go. And then that leaves the Leo reeling, saying, well, what's going on here? I'm not being attended to. But that's a whole nother video. But so that ego for the sun and that essence is, it's wonderful to want attention. But I think the lesson for having a Leo, if a person came into this life with 2 or 3 planets in Leo, which I know multiple Leos that have more than 1 planet, I really believe that in past lives, they didn't get a chance to be powerful and shine. They didn't get a chance to maybe be the leader at work or the supervisor or rule the roost. Now is their chance. They came into this life and they said, you know what? I'm going to be noticed. I'm going to really help people. I'm going to really shine on people. And I'm going to be the boss or the supervisor or the foreperson. I'm going to really help people. I'm going to really shine on people. And I'm going to be the boss or the supervisor or the foreperson, the foreman or the forewoman. I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be the point person that people, or that I'm going to be that head coach, that head basketball coach, or that head dance coach. That's Leo. Leos can be great coaches. That's a really big plus of Leo people, is they really, the natural positive Leo energy knows how to rile up the fun and enthusiasm in people very, very naturally, and they do it better than other signs. So that's really a big positive for that Leo sun. So try not to succumb to too much flattery or too much attention to where it gets unbalanced, sort of thing. So Leo ones, this is not over here. Leo ones cannot camouflage themselves. So if a Leo planet wanted to camouflage, I'm thinking of every family member, friend, or acquaintance I worked with that has Leo planets. And I have several people in my family that have Leo planets. I've had friends with Leo planets. And I can't think of one of them that the Leo energy is hidden and I don't see it very easily. Now I see it as an astrologer, but I also see it just as a person, whatever my relationship is with them. Well, whether it's casual or more or closer, but I see it instantly, and it's not camouflaged easily. So is that a plus or a minus? It depends for the Leo person. But even an introverted or shy Leo, there's something about when they're in a room, there's something that they want to have influence or impact in a fixed way, not in necessarily a fast way or a pushy way like a cardinal sign, like a Capricorn or an Aries might want to have impact, or influence, and they're going to push to have their way. Leo will push, but it's that they're not camouflaged. It's just kind of there. And that can be a negative, and they need to increase their ability to be sensitive to others. So this is a big sore spot, obviously, with all the fire signs. Too much fire burns hot and can hurt other people's feelings easily, and not tune into others' suffering or pain, and not having a lack of sympathy or empathy for other people. So that's obviously a big negative for fire sign planets, and a big lesson for fire sign planets to tolerate, like I said a half hour ago, tolerance. So Leo ones they're not naturally sympathetic or sensitive. That doesn't mean they're mean or cold people, but they're kind of caught up in themselves. They're caught up in that sun energy, and they can be very warm and funny to you and very loving and give you a big hug, and at the same time not be sensitive or sympathetic. So for the more sensitive signs, or for the charts that have major Pisces, major Cancer, maybe even Libra, that's more thrown off or more sensitive, the Leo energy can be fun for a while, but eventually can be tiresome because of that lack of sensitivity. Now, I'm not being mean to Leos. I have met Leos that have been very warm and very sympathetic to certain plights, but a lot of times it's something that the Leo person has to go through themselves. So he or she has to actually go through the challenge or the suffering that you're going through in order to sympathize or empathize. So it's not a natural sympathetic. Whereas the opposite would be Aquarius. Aquarius there. Aquarius 1 is the opposite. and that's the raw Aquarius energy, which is more thoughtful and naturally a little more sympathetic to the group and humanity. So Aquarius takes that individuality of Leo and retains it, because it's also fixed, a very strong fixed individual, but it looks out because it represents the group. It's the 11th house instead of the 5th house, so it represents the group at large for Leo. But very, very important for Leos to know that, for Leos to not pretend that people are not noticing their larger qualities. And if the larger qualities are negative, unfortunately, those really get magnified with people as well. So I would imagine, I have no planets in Leo, not one, not even I don't even have an outer planet. I have 0 planets in Leo. So in a past life, I did my Leo energy. So I don't understand what it's like to have a Leo planet, but I can't imagine it's easy, because you can't hide it. You can't camouflage it. And sometimes, you just want to hide, especially if you have 4th, 8th, or 12th houses there. Sometimes you just want to hide a little bit. Planets in water houses want to hide. So that's why it's so important to know where that Leo energy is in the chart. But the Aquarius 1 opposite Leo it's a very strong magnetism. Often Aquarius and Leo people are magnetically attracted to Leo people are magnetically attracted to each other, not just sexually, but sensually, friendship. It's exciting. There's a lot of learning there, but eventually it usually wears off and Aquarius and Leo usually cannot sustain close relationships. I'm pretty sure on that. I'm sure there's Aquarius and Leo spouses that have been together for 10 or 20 years, but that's you're talking about 2 signs that are yang, male energy, masculine energy, and fixity, and are both independent and individualistic. So the Leo appreciates the kind of, the natural talents of Aquarius. Aquarius has a lot of natural talents and is very thoughtful. Leo's very attracted to that. And Aquarius is attracted to that charisma and the warmth of Leo that Aquarius doesn't naturally have. Aquarians may be able to summon that or build that, but it's not natural to an early Aquarius to be, outgoing or center of attention, or maybe have some of that fire sign charisma. So it can be resentful. So now we'll get into a little compatibility with Leo. Who is Leo compatible with, and who are Leo planets compatible with in general? Now, again, this is going to be kind of general. We are talking about sun signs. If I looked at 2 charts, I would be really looking at Venus and Mars and the moon a lot, and that kind of compatibility. But one thing I want to say about compatibility that I've learned as an astrologer over the decades is compatibility doesn't mean just everything is easy. I think we all wanted that at some point, especially when we were more young and naive. We just want to find a partner or a spouse or a friend or whatever, and we just want things to be we want to just get along and everything be easy. There's no character building in that. So if you don't ever have any clashes with your spouse or your intimate partner or your best friend, you have to have some healthy clashes. And I don't mean, and you have to have some healthy clashes. And I don't mean, full-scale wars. If it's that bad, obviously the compatibility isn't there for somebody. But to have normal, ongoing fights, verbal or emotional fights with someone, is necessary, and it is normal. Now, to the point it goes to the point that people take it to when they're arguing, that's a different story. That's a case-by-case basis. But with Leo and Aquarius, for example, again, magnetic attraction, but I don't see a lot of long-term compatibility. As friends or siblings, yes. Brother and sister that are Aquarius and Leo, that could be fun. They would learn a lot from each other, and that would be interesting. Aquarius and Leo, siblings, friends, or even work partners, possibly. But like love, marriage, long term, not necessarily, even though Leo ones tend to be quite loyal. Leo ones are loyal. It is a loyal sign. And Aquarius can be loyal as well, being fixed. They can both hang in there and stick to. They can see something through because they're fixed. But there's, with that yang fixity, there's not a lot of potential there for long term. And another clash with Aquarius and Leo is the fact that because they're both yang, unless both of their charts has some nice earth or water to balance it out with yin, it's too much masculine energy. And that wouldn't matter if it's two women, two men, or a man and a woman in a relationship. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter the genders. It's the energy. The energy would be too masculine. So, you know, by the same token, you don't want too much yin either. Too much yin, again, would be too hidden, maybe too calm, too soft, and wouldn't build any character either, kind of thing. So Aquarius and Leo is kind of a, it's kind of a like a, it's a total go, total green light kind of from the start, and then it can trail off there. So if you're an Aquarius person and then you're with someone that's not a Leo, but they have Venus or Mars in Leo, let's say, there will be that romantic or attraction, or physical attraction, and it could be a strong mental attraction if you, especially if you share a hobby like music or theater or something. There'd be a lot of stimulation there, but not necessarily sensitive enough, and not for, I wouldn't say, for the long term. All right, so next we have, I'm going to try to make sure I go through all 11 signs with Leo here. We have the wild card signs, which are the inconjuncts for Leo. So Leo is inconjunct Pisces, and Leo is inconjunct Capricorn. So inconjunct is a quincunx degree, and in astrology, most astrologers agree it's just adjustment. It is tension like a square, but it's different. It's not pure tension. It's these signs, a Leo and a Pisces, do not share, each element is different, water and fire, and the qualities are different. Fixed, Pisces is mutable. So there's nothing that they share. So what happens when a Leo and a Pisces get together, or a Leo and Pisces planet that are inconjunct come together? Well, it is a wild card, and it's really going to depend on the rest of the chart, but it will depend on the maturity, really the maturity of the people. Now, Pisces, I think, is one of the most difficult signs to find compatibility with, because Pisces is so ultra sensitive. So what Pisces need from other people, or what they can give from other people or can't, is very important. It's prominent. So that the Leo being struggling to be sensitive, again, early Leo sun energy is not naturally sensitive. It can be very warm and loving, but that's different. So depending on what the Pisces needs, the wild card, that inconjunct of differences, there's a lot of adjusting to different temperaments there. So it doesn't mean they're incompatible, but it doesn't mean they are naturally compatible either. So again, the inconjunct can go either way. It depends on the degree of the Pisces. If this Pisces planet was early Pisces and it was an exact inconjunction with the early Leo, that could be fun. It could be fun for both of them in a kind of wacky way. Because they're so different, they might be fascinated by each other because they're not anything alike. And that might be an attraction. But eventually, again, that would wear off. That would wear off. With an older Leo and Pisces person, it could work if the Leo person's mellowed out and they're a little more sensitive, or maybe the Pisces person is a little, has grown a little bit of a thicker skin and is not as sensitive. I mean, kind of in a negative way. And the Pisces can handle more of that strong fire. But Pisces would be okay to take a back seat with Leo and let Leo be the boss. Pisces doesn't mind that. In fact, Pisces might even be turned on a little bit by Leo having control. Pisces can get turned on by people that are a little bit controlling in a healthy way, like a fun way, if that makes any sense. Just a little bit. I'm not talking about, extreme ways. you know, I just mean a kind of a balance of power or influence. But Pisces is an inwardly strong energy, and Pisces has a much stronger sense of depth and understanding of humanity than Leo does. So Pisces can really teach. Pisces can teach Leo a lot with that inconjunct being different. So again, very, very differing temperaments, total wild card. That could be a yes, could be a no. Okay, so Capricorn's the next inconjunct with Leo. Again, Capricorn's Earth in cardinal, Leo is fixed in fire. They don't share anything. Now, what they do share is an early Capricorn, which would be the week of the ruler. So like a January 3rd Capricorn and today an August 3rd Leo are exactly in conjunct. I knew a couple of people that were born that first week of January, so I have a good sense of Capricorn 1. But how they would be with a Leo planet is, again, this is an inconjunct wild card. It could be a yes or a no. Capricorn, being a very serious sign, can benefit. They can benefit greatly from the warmth and fun-loving qualities of an early Leo. That can be very good for a Capricorn. It can get them out of their kind of darker moods or more serious moods, especially surrounding work and their career, always looking at the bottom line, always maybe looking at their money or, you know, their title at work, sort of thing. Leos understand and respect that kind of ambition too, because Leos have it. So Leos and Capricorn can both be ambitious together. They could create a lot of success on projects because they both put a lot of energy into their projects. So that's something that could be compatible. But as far as love or romance, it's a wild card, just like Pisces. Capricorn is sensual. Leos are passionate, but again, Leos aren't necessarily sensual or sensitive or softer. Capricorn is yin. Capricorn is a feminine sign, but Capricorn doesn't give themselves, they don't give that softer side of themselves easily. Capricorns usually armor it. They hide it behind armor. Capricorns have it, but it's really hard to get to with Capricorn. Really hard. So Leos may feel that they would most likely not feel that attended to by Capricorn, even though Capricorn is a very concerned sign and they care in their own way. Capricorn is very much concerned and very dedicated. You know, if Capricorn is going to look after you, they're going to look after you. You're not going to have to worry about it. It's not a flaky, well, I'll kind of look at you. I'll kind of look after you. No, Capricorn will do it. So Leo will appreciate that. But will they be attending to Leo? And will Leo be serious enough? And Capricorn may not appreciate that ego energy. Capricorn might see that as kind of foolish and not practical and a little bit over the top. You know, what are we doing here? We're not, it's not helping us for the long term. But Capricorn has a need to be noticed and recognized in their own way, not center of attention, but Capricorns need to be noticed for their qualities and their accomplishments. And Leo has that. So Leo and Capricorn both have that need. So if they could fit that into a compatible kind of lifestyle and they're older and mature, that could work. So I would say Capricorn and Leo, early Capricorn, maybe even Capricorn 2, could work with Leo long term. They can both hang in there and they're both dedicated. Could work, but again, it's a wild card. But maybe a little more of a yes than Pisces. But I would have to look at the rest of the chart. Okay, next for Leo compatibility. All right, we're 45 minutes in. Thank you I see a couple of new people popped in. Thank you. We're doing Leo compatibility right now. And then I'm going to end with a little transits and celebrities. So the house is quiet right now. I am solo right now. The house is very quiet, so I could potentially talk all day. This is great. So now we're going from Capricorn. So those are the inconjuncts. Now we're going to go to the squares. What signs are square Leo? Taurus and Scorpio. We already talked a little bit about Aquarius. So we're going to concentrate on Taurus, Scorpio, and what is it like for two Leos? What is it like for two lions or two lionesses to come together? Okay, so we're talking about fixed compatibility. All right, so Leos might not love this statement. Leos, if you have a lot of Leo or you are a Leo, bear with me. Take it with a grain of salt. Remember, we're all a little biased. Myself, I admit it. We're all a little biased. There's no way we can be completely 100% impartial and detached when it comes to all these signs. We've all been through stuff, right? We've all hurt people. We've been hurt by people. And also maybe we've been hurt in business, or we've had bosses that haven't appreciated us, or coworkers trying to steal our job. We've all been there, especially anyone over 40 pretty much has been there. So having said that, what is it like with two Leos? Let's go Leo on Leo. I've never done a reading for or coached anybody that I knew consciously that they were with another Leo person romantically, or a partner, spouse. I haven't come across that with two Leos. I've come across couples with their same sign of like two Pisces, two Virgo, but not Leo. So early Leo energy with another Leo. So if you had two Leos together, let's say, that are born between the 26th and today, August 3rd, what would that be like? Again, now their suns are conjunct. So now we're in a conjunction, which is an emphasis of the energy is emphasize its power. So you got two powerhouses coming together. You got a lion and a lion coming together, or a lion and a lioness coming together, or a lioness and a lioness coming together. So if the two Leo people have matured, and if they've gotten over themselves somewhat, the ego is always going to be there. With two Leos, you're always going to have a grapple for power and control. Irregardless of how they grew up, doesn't matter how shy or introverted they are, in a quiet or showy way, both Leos this week will want influence, and they'll want to make their own choices. Now, how will that sit with the other Leo person? It depends. When Leos are positive and they love you, Leos can really express unbelievable amounts of warmth and loving energy. Leo has an incredible capacity to be warm and loving. Leo planets really do. So when Leos are firing on all cylinders and they're positive, if both Leo people are, I would say, older, maybe over 40 or over 45, or maybe even over 50, and they're together and they chilled out a little bit, depending on the rest of the chart. Again, their rulers are the sun, so you're really only looking back at Sun and Leo for emphasis. They can get along and have a lot of fun together, and they would both support each other in terms of that they're both very loyal and dedicated to their family unit. So if they have a lot of children or have a lot of pets, Leo is a sign that has a very natural warmth and fun with children. Can have a positive and warmth vibe with animals. So if they're like that and they're mature, it could work. But if the Leo planets, the Leo suns, have other Leo in the chart, or other very strong signs like major Capricorn, major Scorpio, you're going to have power struggles, and it would just depend on the maturity. So Leo and Leo, it's not a wild card. That is really 50% yes and 50% no. It could totally work. It could totally blow up and burn out. So Leo and Scorpio. How would a Leo and Scorpio vibe? Again, these are somewhat for time here. These are somewhat brief. I'm trying not to make them superficial, but these are brief because I would look at different decans, and obviously you have to look at other, the moon and Venus in particular, in a person's chart. So early Scorpio energy, which would be Halloween, or November 3rd. Let's say it's November 3rd person, or a Halloween person, and an August 3rd person today, Leo and Scorpio. Now, what I've noticed for people that I have read for, Leos and Scorpios, especially the early degrees, I don't know what it is, but there is a very, very, very strong, it's not necessary, I don't call it attraction, although there can be a strong romantic or sexual component between Scorpio and Leo, can be very passionate, but it's not that, it's something else. And I think what it is it's both signs understand the power, they innately or instinctively understand the power of the other sign. We all know how powerful and intense an early Scorpio person is. Scorpio person instantly knows that the Leo person is just as fixed as them. Okay, does that make sense? Just as fixed, not emotionally. Scorpio's more emotionally and Scorpio's more pointed about how they want things and kind of more simplistic and focused, whereas Leo is more expansive. But they respect that in each other. Scorpio and Leo can respect the fact that they're both powerhouses, and that can be either a clash or it can be a compatibility. They are square, but the tension can create growth. So if they're mature and they're evolved, now the Scorpio person, if they're mature and evolved, they're not going to love a big ego on a Leo, and they may not even attend to that. The Scorpio person is not going to waste. Scorpio does not waste emotional energy on anyone. So if you want to have the best of Scorpio, you're going to have to be deserving of it, and you're going to have to give it back equally 100%. If you're given halfway, Scorpio's going to know that. And the Scorpio will shut down and not give it to you. So Scorpio and Leo square. I would say for love or marriage, I would say yes. I would say more so yes. Probably 70-30 or 60-40. 60% yes, 70% yes. I would say for Taurus and Scorpio, Scorpio and Leo for long-term, marriage or love. Not necessarily for a work. They both like to get to certain higher positions. Leo is very concerned with title and status, kind of like Capricorn. So Leo, no matter how warm a Leo is, a Leo would have no problem just taking a Scorpio's job, because that would be more important to, I think, a Leo than the relationship possibly. So again, that could go either way with the square, with tension, but Scorpio, Leo could work. So what about Leo and Taurus? What about like May 3rd, a May 3rd person, and an August 3rd person, which are exactly square? So we have to remember with the fixed signs, fixed is fixed, right? I say this every year, it's fixed. It's resolute. It's the signs that put their flag in the sand and stay there and said, this is my territory. They don't leave easily. They don't change easily. They are loyal. And once fixed signs are set in motion, no matter how slow or fast they are, doesn't matter. But once they're set in motion, it's very hard to dissuade the fixed signs from their course. And that can be a very big downside to people that have major fixed signs in their chart, because fixed signs can get very much stuck. So when I look at Leo and Taurus, I see that template. Early Leo, very fixed, can be stubborn. Early Taurus, completely, very, very strong ability to manifest things and wants their ideas to take tangible form. Taurus does not give up. They have an idea. They want to put it into motion. Even though it's really, really slow, they have to get some kind of tangible benefit out of it. So they're not going to give up. So if a Leo wants more attention, the Taurus may or may not give Leo attention that it needs. Taurus is such a solid, rock solid sign. Taurus people can kind of work with almost any sign. A Taurus person could be the spouse of any sign, because a positive, healthy Taurus person is so natural at nurturing and being at home that they can make a home or a nest kind of with any sign. That's when Taurus is secure and really easygoing, but not an insecure Taurus. But that's when Taurus is secure and really easygoing, but not an insecure Taurus. But Taurus and Leo, not as easy in Scorpio. I don't see as much of an attraction there. Taurus is sensual, Leo is passionate. That could match, but I don't see that for the long term. Again, Taurus is not a sign that's going to have the energy to feed the Leo ego or give the Leo tons of attention on an ongoing basis. That can get tiresome for Taurus. And also, likewise, Taurus can be a little dull for Leo, let's say. Not that Taurus is necessarily boring, but just in the sense that Taurus likes things quiet, likes more peace than Leo, doesn't have as much of a need for attention. That can be dull for an early Leo. It could be grounding. The Leo could find it grounding and comforting, or it could find it dull. So kind of like Leo and Scorpio, I could say, because they hang in there and they're both loyal, they would respect showing up in the commitment in the relationship. But being fixed signs, it could go either way with that square. So I would say Leo and Taurus, not a wild card, but 50-50 as far as a yes or a no. Okay, now let's go to the signs where Leo has other aspects. So let's go to Libra. Libra and Leo are sextile. The sextile is ease. It is friendship. It's like a natural friendship. Now the sextile creates ease, and it creates a nice expression that's similar between the two signs, but it can be superficial, it can get old fast, and it doesn't necessarily build character or growth for the long term. So Leo and Libra, that's a couple that are, they're up with the current trends, they dress nice, they like to go out, they like to go to nice dinners, they like to wine and dine, they like shows, they like theater, music. Leo and Libra would have a lot of fun. So Leo planets and or Libra planets would have a natural compatibility there as friends and activity partners, like pretty much right from the start. Now, Libra has a perfectionistic side to them, especially early Libra. They don't always show it right away. Libras can be very sweet and easygoing, and then that critical perfectionistic side comes out. So whether Leos are going to like that or not, Leos may feel criticized. They may feel, their pride might feel a little wounded if Libra has a sharp tongue, or if Libra's always trying to balance things just right and correct things. So again, there's a lot of fun there, and there's a lot of romance there. They both are very similarly romantic. Again, but that, to me, that kind of sounds like the early stages of a relationship or just kind of casual dating. Yeah, lots of fun. As far as longer term commitment, that is up in the air. You have to look at Venus for the Libra person, and I would have to look at Venus for Leo, but also look at the Sun aspect too. But Leo and Libra being sextile, again, there's that ease of expression, but not necessarily strength for the long term. So I would say yes for Leo and Libra, but not necessarily long term unless they're much older and very mature and Leo's mellowed out. Leo and Cancer. Now, Cancer is the sign that we just did. So Leo and Cancer are right next to each other. Often in the zodiac, signs that buttress each other have a kind of a natural bond. They are completely different, but they're so close to each other in the zodiac cycle that they are similar, like a similar age, so to speak. So Cancer and Leo, how would that work? Well, I know I talked about this last year, Cancer compatibility. Cancer is super sensitive. Leos are not super sensitive in general. Leos can be very warm and loving, which Cancer would love. Cancer would love the loving qualities of Leo, but Leos are not very sympathetic. Cancers tend to be quite sympathetic. So a lot of differences there. Cancers are so touchy, kind of like Pisces. Cancer's so touchy that if Leo doesn't attend to Cancer, the Cancer's going to feel ignored or disappointed. So Cancer Leo energy, there's no easy answer. That's one of the hardest matchups, I think. I would have to do like a separate video on that. But Leo Cancer is really, that is kind of a wild card, even though they're not in conjunct. It definitely, you have to look at the Sun and the Moon for both charts and the Venus. Early Cancer, which would be July 3rd, so a July 3rd and an August 3rd, a month ago. An early Cancer would be an empath. And Cancer would tune into Leo's vibes, and they would see, Cancers would easily feel Leo's greater more positive qualities, maybe easier than other signs. So Cancer wouldn't have a problem seeing that and feeling that. And Cancer might like that warmth, but Cancer's not going to like the fire though. If Leos are stomping, or if the crab bites the Leo's, snaps at the Leo's tail, and Leo's pride is hurt, then you got a disaster, because Cancer's overly emotional. Cancer's not going to be detached or composed about it necessarily. You're going to have a big problem. So that, I don't know. That's not even a 50-50. That is just a big question mark with Leo and Cancer. So what about Leo and Aries? Well, here you have a fellow fire sign. Leo and Aries are naturally trine. So if you had April 3rd and August 3rd, natural trine. Now, Aries and Leo is kind of like, it's like a sandwich that goes together. They instantly like the charisma of the other person. Leo sees the leadership qualities of Aries and the fun and the take charge attitude, and Leo appreciates that. Aries sees the attention that Leo commands, because Aries secretly wants that. Aries wants to command attention, but Aries doesn't always do it in the same way that Leo does. So the way that Leos can command attention or get attention in a room, Aries can be envious of that and can really respect that. So Aries and Leo have a natural affinity and are very similar in a lot of ways, and can be both very warm, loving, and fun. But eventually, just like Leo and Leo, Aries and Leo is who's the boss. Remember the show in the 80s with Tony Danza, who's the boss. So with Aries and Leo, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of it, even though a lot of it is good, there's a lot of it that says no, because Aries and Leo under the same roof, especially early Aries and early Leo. Early Aries is very much like a child, and also demanding like a child. And early Leo energy is also very demanding. So if they can meet each other's demands and they're mature, there's a lot of fun there, a lot of warmth, they will be devoted to each other. But the lack of sensitivity in both signs can really work against them. Aries is not naturally sensitive. Leo activity in both signs can really work against them. Aries is not naturally sensitive. Leo isn't either. So unless there's other indicators in the chart and they're very, very mature and they've both chilled out a little bit, preferably over 40 or over 45, especially past the early 40-something Uranus aspect, it could work. It could work, but long-term is a big question mark, just like Leo and Cancer, even though there's more compatibility with Aries. What about Leo and Virgo? Natural affinity. There is a natural friendship somehow with Leo and Virgo. They understand each other. Virgo is mild. Leo is not mild. So it's interesting. If this was hot sauce, you go to a Mexican restaurant, Leo's the hot sauce, and Virgo is the mild, So, oh, it looks like we lost everybody. Did we lose everybody? Hope it's still working. So Leo and Virgo is very much a friendship. That could be a natural friendship between the earth and fire. Virgo is dutiful and caring in a quiet way. Leos will appreciate that. And Leo is very warm. And generally speaking, this can work because Virgo is not vying to be the leader. So Virgo's okay not being the leader or ruling the roast. The sound went off, but I'm back. Okay. Oh, it did. Okay. Yeah, I think it was glitching again. So that could work, depending. Leo Gemini. So we're over an hour now, so I got to kind of move along here. Leo Gemini is very similar to Leo Libra. It's a sextile. A lot of fun. Geminis are big talkers, but early Gemini does not like restrictions and does not want to be put in a box and doesn't want to be too fixed or loyal. Gemini's nature is not to be fixed or not to be too loyal. It doesn't mean they cannot commit. Gemini can commit and can be quite loving and fun if they're given space. So Leo and Gemini, again, just like Libra, go out, have fun, wine and dine, lots of good conversation. Mutual hobbies are a big plus. Mutual projects at work, big plus. But long-term compatibility, with Leo and Gemini. It depends on the nature of the relationship or marriage. Leo and Sag, another trine like Leo and Aries. Leo and Sag are trine, have a natural, fun, loving vibe with each other. And Leos love that Sag is so blunt and straightforward. Leos never have to worry about where they stand with Sag. Sag can hurt Leo's pride though, but Sag doesn't have to worry about where Sag stands, and pretty much Sagittarius wouldn't have to worry about where Leo people stand with them as well, because Leo is going to pretty much, if they're loyal, Leo's going to hang with you and be loyal. And if you've hurt Leo enough, hurt Leo's pride enough, chances are you're not going to be with them anyways. So Leo and Sag, that could definitely work. Definitely work for friendship. Love and marriage could work, although Sag needs a lot of space and freedom like Gemini. So can the Leo give them space? Sagittarius is going to want to roam more. So that could threaten Leo. If Sagittarius roams more or has other relationships outside the main relationship, that could go either way. So that's some compatibility with Leo. We might expand on that. If you have any interest in that, please let me know in my current video or in this live stream comment. All right, let's talk quickly about celebrities, and we'll go to the transits because I'm kind of losing my voice here. All right, so Gerald Casale, he is a Leo, one of the founders of Devo, and Devo is a quirky new wave band with they have the hats, and very much very, very dramatic, kind of in their own quirky way. And then we have Geddy Lee. He's my #1 favorite musical Leo from the group Rush, Canadian rock group Rush. Geddy is just amazing. I think he's one of the best songwriters, singers, and bassists of any genre of music ever. His creativity is just unmatched. The power and warmth and greatness that he brings to the sound of Rush. I know that Rush is mainly liked by men. There's not a lot of women that like Rush. I have met a couple, but Rush is very much like a thinking man's group. But it's for anybody that likes deep, strong rock that has unbelievable chords and time signatures. And like I said, Geddy Lee is one of the best bassists ever. He's just unbelievable. Stanley Jordan, he's a jazz guy, another Leo. He has a very, very unique style like Geddy, but it's more smooth jazz. But he's really amazing. Jim Core, I've mentioned the Cores before. It's a group of siblings, an Irish group. He kind of gets overshadowed by all his sisters that are in the group, but he's very, very, very much are the reason that group got put together. So he's very much the center of that group. Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, the British group Def Leppard, and I recently visited London. So when I was in London last month, I was thinking about all the British music that I love and have loved for decades. So that was pretty cool to be in the UK and thinking about where some of these groups recorded all this music. It was really fun. And then the last one is Coolio. So Coolio was a rapper and actor that we lost 3 years ago. Very kind of cool, kind of interesting guy, and very outspoken guy, very much. But pure Leo energy, that's early sun energy, is all fire and it's all Leo. So again, there's no ability for these Leo people to really hide who they are, nor should they. But they should really struggle. They struggle to balance their greatness with some of their negative qualities. And like I said, when their qualities are negative and they're really upset or their pride is hurt, they can be very, very difficult and very kind of hard to be around. All right, so let's talk briefly about the transits. Let me see. All right, hold on a second. All right, I'm gonna try. Okay, I'm gonna try here. Okay. Okay, can you see anyone that's here? Can you just tell me if you can see this chart, this transit chart for August 3rd? Just write in the comment yes or no if anyone's there. I think you can see it. I think I figured out how to get from the other browser how to share it. I can see it. So this is oh, I may have lost people. I don't know what's going on. More glitches. All right. Can anyone hear it or see it? All right. Hopefully people can see it. I don't know if they can, but we'll briefly talk about the transits. Hopefully it's still recording for the live stream. So this is Eastern Standard. This is New York time, 12 p.m. today, August 3rd, 2025. And most notably is this huge amount of fire today. Here we have the Sun and Mercury in Leo, Mercury retrograde. Moon is in Sag. Moon is in Sag. And then we have, of course, Neptune in Aries and Sagittarius retro. This is a lot of fire, though. A lot of fire. And because there's so much fire, there's always going to be another element that's lacking, and that is Earth. Here you see no major Capricorn. Now that Uranus is in Gemini, it's a cusp, no major Taurus. And then we have Mars in Virgo. But guess what? On the 6th, we have Mars for all Libra people, or Mars Libra people. We have Mars going into your sign in Libra on the 6th. So that is Wednesday, August 6th, Mars goes into Libra. So that's going to be really good for the air signs, because here you have all this outer planets, these outer points in Aquarius. You only have one. We only have one position in Gemini. And this Mars in Libra will trine Uranus, and then it will trine Pluto. Instead of a square or an opposition, it will trine it, which is really nice. We'll have a nice air sign trine here, and then eventually we'll trine the outer planets, these points here, the Earth and part of Fortune as well. And those are more esoteric energies, but nonetheless, Mars will trine. So because Mars is our collective energy, that's a really good thing. Because with Mars, we're finding all these conflicts in the world right now, and wars and everything. So for Mars and Libra Mars and Libra isn't all roses, but there is a tendency and a strong energy to want peace. Even though Mars and Libra can fight, they can fight when things are unjust. They can be big fighters for justice. But Mars and Libra, ultimately, when they get home, no matter how much they fought, they do want peace. So that's a big positive. So Libra people, and if you don't have Mars and Libra, but you are a Libra, your Mars will conjunct your Sun depending on what degree you are. So that's kind of cool. And then we have all this Cancer here, no Scorpio, the node in Pisces, and then of course we talked about the air signs before. Have all this air energy here, and then right now Libra is rising, but there's no Libra planets until the 6th. And then the 9th, next Saturday, the full moon will be 17 degrees of Aquarius. So Mars will not be trine that quite, but it will trine the moon very briefly before it's full. The full moon in Aquarius will, let's see, it will obviously oppose the Sun in Leo. It won't probably have a lot of there's not going to be a lot of major aspects, although, let me see here. When the Sun and the moon cross and they're opposed, Mars is going to go into Libra, which means it will be early Libra, and it looks like we're going to oppose this retrograde Neptune. Now that's going to be very, very fuzzy. Mars opposition Neptune is fuzzy. It's fuzzy energy. But with it being retrograde, it's even slower and fuzzier behind the surface. So that's going to confuse things a little bit. So I would say take things slow on the full moon and be careful if you're driving. People may not be paying attention. People might be spacing out with a Mars Neptune, and also be careful with drugs, especially Libra people, because Mars is going to Libra. Libra planets, if it connects to that opposition to Neptune, be really careful with too much alcohol or too much recreational drugs. I'm not talking about, medications that you take that you need, or even natural herbs or something that you take on a slow basis. I'm talking about, recreational drugs, major smoking, major drinking. I know that some people are probably going to think I'm a party pooper when I say that, but you gotta really be careful when Neptune's involved. Okay, I'm not sure if anyone else has left, so thank you so much for any of you that did see part of the live stream. I really appreciate it. I kind of like that this has been 2 Sundays in a row now, even though the stream seems to be a little more difficult. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I will follow me on X and Instagram, and I'll let you know when the next live stream will be. It's either Fridays or Saturdays at 8 or 9, or Sundays at 11 or 12. Thanks for sharing such good info. You're welcome. So if anything was glitchy, I think you could just go back on the replay and then just use your mouse to scrub and fast forward, like to the middle of the stream, or like towards the end of it, and pick the part where you want to see. At the very, if you see this at the very, very beginning, we talk about Leo, and then I go into compatibility. And then I talk about celebrities at the end here, and then we just finish with the transits. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I just finished with the transits. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until the next one, stay safe and be yourself. Have a good week.